Now, when Lehanne Sergison's aunt was murdered, with police not able or not willing to find the prime suspect, she took matters into her own hands.
To get justice for her aunt, Christine, Lehanne became an online detective. And we'll speak to her in a moment.
Wow.
And Lehanne joins us now. It's an astonishing story. It takes years before finally he is arrested and convicted and sentenced. But did you know from the beginning that it was definitely him, or was there a doubt in your mind as you went after this guy online that you'd found the right person?
Well, he fled the crime scene, effectively, the day we found out Christine had been murdered. So there was that obvious connection, and he fled to Zimbabwe. He's a Zimbabwean national and crossed the border. And so there was a big clue that it was him. But there's always a doubt in your mind, well, in my mind anyway, that you're tracking somebody that... we don't know the reason why he fled, but the assumption was there.
It's just extraordinary. So you were frustrated by the lack of progress, weren't you? You know, the unsolved murder rate in South Africa is high, isn't it? So yes. You were worried that you weren't going to get justice for your aunt.
Yes, because we sought advice from the Foreign Office, and obviously they helped to a degree, but it was a lot of platitudes, and there's 60 to 80 murders of British nationals overseas each year. So the resources aren't necessarily there. And there's a lot of crime in South Africa. Again, the resources aren't there. So it's trying to keep that momentum going of finding pockets of information. So that's why I turned to Facebook, and because we had a name, and then he had...
And you were doing this from Kent?
Yes.
While he was in South Africa?
Yeah, they thought he was in Zimbabwe. So the South African authorities were trying to get an extradition order, and they had at least 3 failed attempts that they couldn't get their act together to get the extradition order. And then we found out he was, through a friend, contacts, that he was living in Johannesburg. So once we knew he was in Johannesburg, and then saw all these different profiles for him, all with different names, but they had...
This was you looking on social media to find him?
So, and it was looking at his friendship group who were following him, and then finding the different accounts that he had with different names. And then I just started following him, and then I set up this fake account of Missy Falcao.
And tell us how you chose that name.
I've got 2 rescue greyhounds, so it's their racing names of Slow Lane Missy and Phoenix Falcao, and it was just very impromptu. I need a name, that'll do. So it was that, and he had some religious bent to what he was talking about, and then he was advertising and looking for female company, we'll call it, on dating sites. So I was writing to these dating sites saying, well, he's wanted, he's thought to be a rapist, a murderer, but they weren't taking the post down. So that's why I felt the need to contact him directly eventually.
So, and what was the plan? You know, you were messaging him.
There was no plan.
You know, to try and find out what he was, and you just wanted to try to work out his location and then pass it on to the authorities?
Well, I did. I passed it on to the Foreign Office, to the British police, and the government decided they wouldn't help, despite the South African police requesting help. I had his telephone number. You could see where he was, and they still wouldn't assist. So it became very frustrating, and I know he's on dating sites, so that's why I thought just contact him directly. And I didn't really think about it. I didn't think of any consequences.
How weird was it, though, for you? Because you're sending messages, essentially trying to chat up someone who you're pretty sure has killed your aunt. It was horrific, because at the end of the day, a lot of this was happening in the evening. So
it lingers when you're trying to get to sleep and you're overthinking everything as well at the same time. And all you want to do is tell him that you know who he is and what he's done and that he's not escaped yet. And it's just trying to keep a track on him so you know not know where he is, but that, I don't know, it gave some comfort that he hadn't just disappeared into the ether.
It feels like it was brave, but also kind of quite risky, because you had spoken to the police, to the social media companies. Did you ever worry, over years this was, that he would find out that it was you trying to track him down and that, that you might be at risk?
Yes, that did cross my mind, and my husband was not very happy at times about it. And it's trying to keep a life in balance so it doesn't become an obsession as much as anything.
No. He was a long way away, but...
Yes, but you don't know. People travel. So there was always that at the back of my mind.
And listen, you did bring him to justice eventually, didn't you? How did you do that?
Well, the police in South Africa did get involved eventually and tried to set up a date, effectively. But he became frustrated because they needed to get the right personnel together and such. And so that failed. He just disappeared. And then 6 years of the anniversary of Christine's death, I posted on social media, and I posted a photograph of him. And the Foreign Office had always told me not to post a photograph to see who he was, because we didn't know what was happening in South Africa, but I became resolute that nothing really was happening, so I thought there's nothing really to lose. And then a contact I have over there, Ian Cameron, who's now an MP in the South African government. He shared it on his pages, and it went viral.
Amazing.
And then there was a lady who was having a coffee break, scrolling through her social media pages, and saw a photograph of him, read what he'd done, and then realised her father had been employing him for the last 5 years.
Oh, my goodness.
And that he was living in her garden in an apartment there.
And did the police come to arrest him in the garden?
Well, no. She texted her father and said, well, he's wanted. And then Ian Cameron, she contacted me and then Ian, and then they got a team of police officers from outside Johannesburg, because there's quite a lot of corruption in the police force there. So they knew, police officers they knew, and they went to arrest him that night. And I could watch on FaceTime, well, WhatsApp.
So you saw it all.
So watch it all in real time, the arrest taking place. They knocked on the door. He had a girlfriend. He was living with her. And they knocked on the door and said, you know why we're here? And he just said yes.
So he knew.
So he knew.
That is extraordinary.
Amazing.
That you were able to bring him to justice in that way, and to get justice for your aunt. I'm sure, you know, she would have probably been quite surprised by your, you know, what you'd gone through to get this justice, but I'm sure very proud. What was she like as a person? Because I know she obviously meant a lot to you, for you to want to pursue this in the way that you did for so many years.
She was very friendly. She's an open book. She was a primary teacher, had taught all over the world English. So she's very charismatic, kind and nurturing. And sadly, her husband had died 2 years previous. So she was in South Africa trying to tie up loose ends, really, to return to England.
It's an amazing story. The Facebook honey trap, Catching a Killer, available on Amazon Prime Video. It's an amazing story. I can't wait to
well done to
watch
you.
it properly. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming in. Thank you.
you.
Goodness me.